Right. So this last bookshelf has, again, more for size than logic. Logic would put this up here, but size put Arabic. So Arabic, as you know, is spent 10 years of my life basically in Korea, learning Korean. I spent 10 years of my life in Arabia, in Lebanon and Dubai, United Arab Emirates and stuff, learning Arabic. So I always went after what's known as modern standard Arabic, classical Arabic, literary Arabic, and I've got tons of readers and grammars and stuff for that. This is a language I threw my heart and soul into for a long time. I'm pretty good at it, not as good as I'd like to be, not as good as I could be, but yeah, when I focus on it, I'm literate. So I used all this stuff to get to that point, and I have, apart from this standard Arabic and classical Arabic, I've got stuff for various Arabic dialects that I never really wanted to study, but I just have here for comprehension. I've got Gulf Arabic, and then further divided Gulf Arabic into specifically Saudi Arabic and Emirati Arabic. I've got Levantine Arabic or Lebanese Arabic, Sudanese or African Arabic, Western Arabic, Moroccan Arabic. I've got some Eastern Arabic somewhere for Iraqi Arabic. I've got colloquial Arabic of Egypt, and so that puts logically Egypt right next to that is Egyptian grammar. So real Egyptian. Forget this. That's not Egyptian. That's just Arabic that they speak in Egypt. But Egyptian is these wonderful hieroglyphs that you have this Gardner's grammar that at the University of Chicago actually at the Oriental Institute. I think that's what these pages are. I was a docent. Yeah, I was a docent at the Oriental Institute for a while, and so this was the docent's course in teaching that, and then I just used these to, I don't know what my logic is for why they're peppered here, but this was a bigger, thorough research grammar, and almost more for art's sake than for the actual language. I did immerse myself in Egyptian hieroglyphs and was able to write some of these things pretty well at a certain stage in my life, and revived that and was working at that not too long ago. And Asimil did come out with this wonderful Egyptian course. Unfortunately, it's spoken very slowly, and they got 4 CDs, but it's only about an hour of talk, but it shows more than anything else the relationship of these letters to these sounds. So I go from ancient Egyptian to other ancient Middle Eastern languages. I've got one book each for Akkadian, Assyrian, Hittite, and Aramaean. And then Aramaean is a sort of segue into Maltese, which is supposedly still recognizable as a dialect of Arabic, but I've never heard it, so I don't know. And then I've got some Hebrew here, and I have a special primer for biblical Hebrew, but that's also gone missing. Now, who would steal a book of biblical Hebrew? I would think that would give you, maybe it's a different religion, but that would give you very bad karma. If you have my book of biblical Hebrew, please return it. From Hebrew, going into, okay, so that's an ancient language. Another ancient language down here is the Avesta, Zend-Avesta. Yeah, Persian Avestan. So I've got some Avestan stuff, and then Persian segues into it. Persian is the language I love the most that I've done the least with. I can't explain that. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but I've always loved Persian, been fascinated with the sound of Persian, the sight of Persian, the Persian literature. I have done a fair amount with Persian in my life, but never as much as I wanted. And I've got a lot of really great material for doing that. So Persian is the main Iranian language. Avesta is the ancestor, and then kind of go back up here. Persian is Persian. So this is what people now call Farsi, the Persian of Iran. Persian of Afghanistan is Dari, and I've got I don't know, the Pimsleur and some stuff like that. I got audio for that. And Tajik, I have a Tajik book somewhere. I think this is Tajik. And then other Persian, other Iranian languages are Kurdish and Pashto. So I've got a few little things for those.
For Egypt, you talked about the Egyptian with all the hieroglyphs, and then there's Egyptian Arabic. Was there anything between that, or how did it sort of transition?
Coptic is the, and I wish I was never able to find anything for Coptic, but Coptic is the language of the Egyptian church, to this day, the Egyptian Christians. It's their liturgical language, and I think Coptic is the basis for how they made the pronunciation of this here. So I don't think it's spoken, but it's it's chanted, it's recited in the church services and Egyptian Christian services. So Coptic is said to be sort of the direct survival of ancient Egyptian pronunciation going to this, and it's also probably Semitic, very similar, in terms of family, but it's different. I mean, this is Egyptian Arabic. It's Arabic, and they just have funny pronunciation. They don't pronounce certain sounds that other people pronounce. So, it's totally different from this. It's the same as that, but just with different the sounds.
And they never invented a script that wasn't hieroglyphs?
Oh yeah, so they did. I think the history of the alphabet kind of traces back to this. The very pictographic form, and then it developed into some sort of a flowing script form, and then turned into phonetic, Phoenician, and then the Phoenician alphabet influenced the Greek alphabet, and the Greek alphabet turned into the Latin alphabet that we use today. So. Yeah, I mean, you can't really see it when you look at it, but the Hebrew alphabet, the Arabic alphabet, all of these trace back to these sort of flowing. I can't remember right now. It's, but there are forms of Egyptian that start to be, not individual pictographs, but sort of more flowing script. And then Persian had a strong influence when the Persians ruled India on the Indian languages, particularly on Urdu. So maybe Urdu ought to be up here, but for historical purposes I put Urdu next to Hindi, and we're going to start with Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is one of the source rivers of all of this stuff here. So Sanskrit has two main phases. There's Vedic, and I have Landman's Vedic reader somewhere. It's not here right now. I think that's in California right now. I think I left that there. I actually have more books in my parents' home in Berkeley. So if I were to bring all of those, now maybe that's where maybe I made a false accusation. It's possible my father's interested in Occitan. It could be my father wanted to look at them. Maybe I loaned to my dad. Yeah, so I could have some other things in California. I know I've got more books in California, so I definitely had a lot more books for Sanskrit. Sanskrit I started studying in college. Thought I was going to stop studying it, didn't do much with it, and then wanted to get back into it, and have had various stages of doing it. So I've got a separate Vedic, so some separate Vedic grammar and Vedic reader. Landman Sanskrit grammar, MacDonald, these go together. Lots of Sanskrit primers and Sanskrit text materials. You helped me open this DVD that was a replacement sent to me in Singapore, so I haven't even listened to this yet. Vedic Wisdom Sanskrit. Tons of, over there I've got a lot more photocopies of books for Sanskrit and the like. So Sanskrit is the Latin to these other languages, and then just with the little, again, it's just could be my complete ignorance of not knowing the history of them, but these are old literary languages, and they did evolve. We know Sanskrit turned into Pali, and then Hindi had a precursor stage, and I got one book for it. We'll show you in a minute. So there could well be enough sort of historical medieval Hindi language, medieval Indic languages, transitional Hindic languages from Sanskrit to Pali to other things, that it might be possible to do something like the Germanic branch thing with the Indic branch. So I've got Sanskrit as the main ancient language here. And then, of course, the official Indian language is Hindi, the national language. And Hindi is a language which, although many of these are kind of maybe a little bit obscure, like, I don't know, this is just University of California, Berkeley Press, but I don't know if it's very published widely, and then these are Indian things, but there's tons of really, really, really good stuff for studying Hindi. And Hindi is... I don't know. I mean, I want my Greek to be better. I want all these other languages to be better. But Hindi is, maybe because I have so many good readers, intermediate and advanced readers and other things, Hindi is a language that I feel like I've got a strong enough foundation and enough background in this here that if I were to make a plunge into it, I could push it up a notch and really become literate in it, able to read, not write. Literate. I mean, I could write the characters, but I couldn't, write stuff in it. But yeah, there's tons of stuff for reading and writing Hindi. So I'm excited about my collection. I would really like to spend more time with that. And then Hindi and Urdu were known as Hindustani. Until the partition of 1947. Huh. So this book is before 1947. This is Hugo's Hindi from no date. But it's got to be before 1947 because it's Hindustani. And there were other books that I've seen like this. They're teaching it as one thing. Here I'm studying this as a Korean Airlines, Asiana Airlines. So I'm studying this back in here, Korea. I'm from Seoul to Simple, August 1st. Wow. So I've got Hindustani, and Sean Bender's Hindi Grammar and Reader and Urdu Grammar and Reader, these are parallel texts. They show exactly the same phrase, exactly the same thing. It's really neat to compare and contrast these two languages. And then I've got much less for Urdu than I do for Hindi, but I've got some stuff for Urdu, and I've got some other photocopies and stuff like that. So I put Hindi, and I'm very happy that, again, serendipity. Greek fits perfectly on one shelf, Celtic fits perfectly on one shelf, and Hindi or Urdu fit perfectly on one shelf, exactly where they belong. And then down here on the last shelf, I've got the other Indian languages that I have some stuff for. I've got some Bengali, some Punjabi, some Gujarati, some Nepali, Sinhala, Marathi, Tsigane, which is the Gypsy language, and then Pali, which would be neat to know more for Buddhist texts. And then here's that medieval Hindi language, this Brajbasa. And so you've got this is the Ramayana, the Sri Rama. Oh, this is the Sri. What is this? What's the official title? Tulsidas. Tulsidas is. Oh, look at that. How's that for a long word? Sri Ramacharitamanasa, the holy lake of the act of Rama. Edited and translated into Hindi and English. So it's edited and translated from some sort of medieval Hindi, Brajbasa, into Hindi and then into English. So that's kind of neat. I'd love to spend more time with that. And then finally, last not least, is the Dravidian languages. So I've got some Tamil, one book for Telugu, and one each for Kannada and Bhumij. And my one huge regret in building this collection is that somehow I didn't get Asimil's Tamil when they put it out, and somehow that became like a very short run, and it's a rare book. It's impossible to find, so if anybody wants to donate that to this collection, it'd be great to have Tamil. Tamil is, they say it's almost as old as Sanskrit, so it'd be neat to know the different stages of that, and that would be a good way to get into it, because I don't have any audio. Well, I guess I've got some audio for this, but I don't have audio for these. So Dravidian is Another big gap. At a certain stage, I wanted to learn a language from each like major family, and Dravidian was one that I didn't get to. But I have some stuff for it, and if anybody wants to borrow these to learn it, they're welcome to it.
I always hear Hindi and Urdu lumped together. So how are they different languages?
Again, they were the exact same language until 1947.
Right.
And since then, the governments of India and Pakistan have tried to make them apart. And
I see.
You have lessons about that, like in this book and others. So they're very rich languages in their vocabulary, and so you'll have multiple synonyms for, I don't know, something like we have in English. We've got fast, swift, speedy, rapid. And if you were to go into the etymology of these, you could find some of these are Germanic and some of these are Romance. And so it would be as if we were to say, we only want to use the Germanic ones, get rid of the Romance ones. So how would you know as an average user? You don't, but the government does, or they have an institute that does. Urdu is kind of a mix of Persian and other things. That's where they say it came from. It was like the army language of 5 or 6 centuries ago. Arabic has a strong influence on Persian. Persian has a strong influence on Urdu, and so both Arabic words through Persian and Persian words themselves have a strong influence on Urdu. And Urdu and Hindi are here, so there's also a lot of Sanskrit words. So in India today, the Indian government will look at that editorial essay and they'll say, well, take the synonyms and the ones that come from Urdu or the ones that come from Persian or Arabic, edit those out and put in Sanskrit ones. And the ones that, for an editorial in a newspaper in Pakistan, they'll do the reverse. They'll say, take out the words of Sanskrit origin and put in the words of Persian or Arabic origin. And so the official language is getting, with time, kind of being deliberately split, but it's still, in terms of everyday colloquial language, everything I've always learned or heard or understood or seen is that you have almost total mutual intelligibility, and singers or songs or movies from either place are popular in the other. So it's more of an official policy. But again, it was they were regarded as the same language until the partition. I've shown you the books that I have on these shelves. I've mentioned I've got lots of photocopies to supplement things. I've got some books that I know are with my dad, and I've got some books that have gone missing, and I'd like to know where they are, somewhere in the world. Get them back. But this whole library, like I said, I'm desirous of going back maybe and studying more Hindi and more Persian and more Greek, but most of this is not for me. This is for people in the academy and for other people. I made this collection to be a resource center, and for, as I mentioned, I've got the audio for most of this digitized now. So I think that it's valuable to learn and know and compare languages, and I wanted to have something that would be valuable to others. And it's always kind of made me a bit sad and frustrated that, like, even now it's stuck down in my basement in Bemidji, Minnesota. So I don't know how this is going to benefit more people in the world, but I would love for it to do so. So to the degree that people can be aware of what's here. And as I said, I've got at least 155 different languages and dialects, maybe a few more. And if seeing this inspires others to want to contribute something, if you saw a gap and you want to fill it and hope that gets somewhere else, if you have knowledge of some way to, I have no idea how the Internet Archive works, and how those books that are digitized get on there and who can do that, but if somebody wanted to go, I really want to use that butter brie and Greenwich cheese for Frisian, if we could, somebody could borrow this and digitize it so others could also see it, I'd be, as long as I'm not breaking copyright laws, I'd be really happy to have all of this get out and be more widely accessible to people.
Okay. I guess if anyone has any ideas, they can comment and
Right?
reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We got to show the cat, otherwise people will say, "Where was Merlin?" So here's Merlin. Watch.
Okay. All right. I'll just end it with the close up.
All right, there you go.